Thank you very much. Oh, it's a pleasure to be here with everyone here at BlockDown 2020. It's nice to come back for a second time, and I think it's amazing to see just how much this community has grown over the last few months. And today, I want to spend some time to talk a little bit about what I truly believe is going to be the next step in the evolution of finance for the next few years. And it has a lot to do with blockchain and cryptocurrencies and how we can actually reach not only billions of people who have been either underserved or haven't been served yet by the traditional financial industry, but also how cryptocurrencies as a technology are going to evolve to really meet this task. It's a very large one at hand. So, without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump straight into the presentation. For a little bit about myself in regards to, next slide, please. And in regards to myself, one of the key things that many people might know me from is from Data Dash. I run a YouTube channel in the cryptocurrency space, as Chris had mentioned, with over 344,000 subscribers. It's been a true honor. I've had the opportunity to not only speak across the world, but also create videos on a weekly basis talking to people about cryptocurrency markets and traditional finance. However, during these past few years, I came to a realization. I came to a realization that simply put, that the space wasn't moving fast enough and that there were a lot of broad issues that had still yet to be resolved in traditional finance. Next slide, please. So I want to go ahead and start off with a little bit of an analogy before we dive into this topic of an evolution of finance and actually being able to fix that key issue of servicing people who have again been left behind by the traditional financial industry. So we have a little bit of an analogy here that I want to build. We have a white collar worker in California who right now is dealing with the day-to-day job. He's working a desk job and is just basically making ends meet. And then on the other side as well, we also have a Thai female farmer who lives on a completely different corner of the world in a very different culture. And even though these two individuals live very different lives, they both share a really key issue that holds them back from reaching their true financial potential. And that is simply put, at the end of the day, that they're both being held back by the traditional financial system. So we need to be able to build a system that works for the both of them. But before we do that, we have to understand the problems that they're both facing. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the individual who's working in the United States and California. So for every standard citizen, whether you be in the United States or in Europe, when you're in like a developing economy, there's three key issues that you're going to face here. The first one here is that finance is generally fragmented. The key issue for most people is that they have to deal with about a dozen different applications in order to manage every aspect of their finances. So this can be a really big issue for people who are just trying to get their feet wet and understand the basics of personal finance. The secondary problem as well that a lot of users are going to face here is that banks pay nearly 0% interest on savings accounts. So right now in the United States, the national savings rate is 0.07%. So this is a really big issue for a lot of individuals who are just simply trying to put money away for the future. And if these two things weren't bad enough as well, when it comes to taking a broad look at personal finance, probably one of the biggest issues as well is the friction in payment networks, as well as sending value across the world or spending money through their debit cards. So these three key issues are going to be huge setbacks for a lot of individuals who are basically just trying to do their day-to-day tasks. And we want to make sure we can be able to build a solution that will resolve all three of these at the same time. And then when we go to the example of the Thai farmer, it's very important to understand that even though their issues might be very different, they're still being affected by just as bad of issues. The first one in the case of the Thai farmer in this case is that they're dealing with the issue of actually getting access to banking services, just basically the ability to have money inside of a savings account digitally versus having it in physical cash. This is a really key issue above all because if you don't have banking services in this manner, you're not able to get access to line of credit. And that's the second issue here that a lot of people in places like Thailand and a lot of other developing economies across the world in Southeast Asia and in South America, as well as a lot of nations throughout Africa are dealing with. So in order to actually get that college education, to get that next leap forward for their small business, they need to get access to that line of credit and they need to get it quickly and at a fair rate as well. But if all of this wasn't bad enough as well for the Thai farmer, the third issue is probably the biggest issue that they deal with, and that is currency devaluation. Because it's one thing if you can get access to banking services, it's another if you can get access to credit. But if that credit is in the form of a local currency and a corrupt banking system, then in this case, you're dealing not only with obviously poor banking services and obviously credit with high interest rates, but you're also dealing with a poor currency. So all of these key issues are very relevant here, and we need to see how we can go about solving both of these, both of these sets of issues. Next slide, please. So again, all of these six issues and stuff are kind of the key problems I would say that probably cause about 90-95% of the issues that people deal with in the traditional world of finance. And the truth of the matter is that these are all relevant issues, no matter if, for example, one or two of them affect you personally. They affect millions of people across the world, if not billions, in the process, whether you're in areas that are more served when it comes to finance or areas that are underserved and have yet to get those basic banking services. Next slide, please. So, what do we have to do to actually get to the point where we can fix all of these six issues? How can we actually go about building something that treats everyone in an equitable nature to give them the best opportunities in finance, to make sure that whether you're here in the United States working a white collar job, or if you're that Thai farmer who's trying to just make ends meet, get basic banking services, and actually have a stable currency to turn to, as well as a line of credit? Well, that's exactly what we're building right now. We're building an application called Digifox, and it's an all-in-one finance application that I've been self-funding over the last few years and have been working on to build basically for anyone across the world to simplify managing their personal finances. So whether you're, for example, just simply looking for basic services to store your wealth, ways to earn interest, an ability to buy digital assets like Bitcoin or Ethereum, and also a way to send and receive payments across the globe, whether it be remittances or paying a family member or friend for dinner, we want to make sure we have that app just for you, as well as an app that can service a whole range of different features that we're working on towards the future. Next slide, please. So the first thing we needed to do above all, as you can probably tell from the design right away, is really take an approach to building a user experience that's extremely simple and easy to understand for anyone. No matter if you had previous existing knowledge of finance or financial markets, it has to be something that's as simple to use as the modern day apps that people turn to for social networks, as well as other types of work or collaboration. Next slide, please. So the first thing as well, in the sense of user experience that we had to focus on is cutting out the noise. When it comes to mobile applications right now, there's a lot of great fintech applications that are available on the market that you can turn to. There are certain applications for mobile banking, and along with that as well, remittances, payment processors, and then also miscellaneous applications. Next slide, please. One of the key issues, though, is that people are fragmented in regards to all these different applications, and they need to download multiple different applications in order to do so. So, in that case, we need to build everything into one singular application. And that's exactly what we've done with Digifox. It aggregates all the necessary applications into one singular finance app. And again, we're not even always turning to the traditional applications and companies that exist today. We're turning to a lot of great companies that have the better interest of users in mind and provide the best quality services possible. The next thing as well is we need to become the opposite of a bank. We can build a great user experience, but if we don't actually build the standard of being the opposite of what you expect from a bank, then we're not going to be able to actually reach those billions of people who have been underserved, as well as the billions who might have a bank account but don't like the experience that they're currently getting. Next slide, please. So we're shifting the model here. We're basically going towards adding the ability in this case for you to earn higher rates of interest on your savings. If we take a look at the traditional model in regards to finance, next slide, you can see that there's a lot of key issues here back from the 1980s, where, for example, you were able to get a decent savings rate on your account, when nowadays in the modern world, that rate has dropped down to a fraction of what it was before. Here in the modern world of 2020, that rate is downward to 0.07%, less than a hundredth of what it used to be. Next slide, please. So again, what we see here is an interesting correlation between not only a decline in rates over time, but most importantly, a decline in the amount of commercial banks available. And this is just an example of the United States. So as we've gone from around 22,000 different commercial bank branches in the United States, and going down to 6,000, we've seen a direct correlation with the decline in interest rates for people. And at the same time, banks are making record profits over the last few decades at the same time, as they continue to pay out little to nothing to the depositors that make up their institutions, but at the same time, walk away with anywhere from 20 to 24% on an annual basis. The average rate that banks make is 24% in profit every single year. And they definitely pay it over to shareholders, but they don't pay it back to the depositors. This is a really big issue, and it's a huge margin that can be reduced to eventually help benefit the everyday person. Next slide. So again, banks have constantly merged to cut out competition, and now we need to provide something that's going to be able to be utilized for everyday people. Next slide. And right now, as well, in regards to the current existing system, just to amplify how bad this issue really is, over 60% of the banking industry is made up by mega banks. And these are banks with over $100 billion in assets. So, whereas, for example, back just a few decades ago, we were at around 30% being around mega banks, we've nearly doubled that since then. And again, this has continued to play into the conglomerization of interest rates. Next slide, please. So what we've done instead is we've changed the model here. We've worked towards building a foundation where you have an all-in-one finance platform for your deposits, where you can see the best opportunities on the market. Whether a partner of ours is paying 2%, 3%, or maybe up as high as 7 to 8%, you can choose where you want to put your money. Because at the end of the day as well, yield is definitely what we're looking for. But at the same time as well, you might care more about heightened security or insurance policies. And the great thing is we start to implement more and more lending partners on our platform, or deposit partners, where you'd be able to deposit your savings. We're going to make sure that people have all the transparency that they need, whether it be security, insurance, or the current yield and the consistency of paying on that yield over a longer period of time. Next slide, please. So again, raising the standard on savings is our key goal here. Next slide. One of the key things that is very important to understand is just how much of a difference this is going to be for everyday people. Again, taking that base savings account rate that's available in today's world, especially in the United States, out of all places, at 0.07%, we're leapfrogging that up to an average savings rate of anywhere from 7 to 8%. This is more than 100 times what is expected from a traditional savings account. Next slide, please. Next slide. So outside of this as well, we also need to, have open access to everyone, right? This is a key thing, again, in the sense of being the opposite of a bank. Banks have basically cut off around 1.7 billion people across the world. And even for people they offer banking services to, they're quite minimalistic in nature, and they don't really work in the interest of the consumer. If anything, it's charging you overdraft fees or other types of complex fees that banks use to make extra margins of their profit. Well, at the end of the day, we're aiming to build an application for everyone. Anyone with a mobile device, whether it be iOS or Android, can go download the Digifox app right now and see the difference of how finance should be. Next slide. Along with this as well, dollars have to be available for everyone. This is a very important thing that we want to make clear to the people across the world that makes Digifox stand out. In this new age of digital assets, we have the ability for us to digitize dollars. And so long as you have the Digifox wallet, anyone across the world can receive USDC, which is a form of a stable coin that's pegged to the dollar. So I'm able to send dollars from here to friends in Argentina or family members over in Tokyo, Japan, all the way here from the United States. It's incredible. It's built for anyone. And what's nice is that you can send these dollars across the world in a matter of just a couple of seconds. Next slide. And outside of this as well, we have to make sure that credit is available at the fingertips of everyone across the world. What's really cool about this new age of digital assets is that as people start to build up a portfolio of digital assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum, they can get an instant line of credit from the Digifox wallet by putting up their crypto as collateral and being able to take out dollar or stablecoin loans directly into the Digifox wallet that they can spend, use to finance certain things like their business, etc. And the really cool thing is that we're eventually working towards branching towards other lending partners outside of the crypto space to reach an entirely new audience of people and to actually start bringing real credit markets into the cryptocurrency space, where you can not only help out in building real world things, but also hopefully earn a yield at the same time. Next slide, please. And last but not least here, we need to make sure that payments are frictionless. As we talked about earlier, one of the key issues here is making sure that not only people have dollars, but as they have the form of currency that they want, to be able to send it across the world how they like as well. Next slide, please. So we have to build frictionless payments. How are we going to do it? Well, so first off here, what we need to do in regards to frictionless payments, next slide, is we need to have free transactions. So with a lot of payment applications nowadays, or if you're working through doing a wire transfer through your bank, you can deal with costs as high as 1% on your transaction if you're doing something through, say, like Venmo, if you want to settle an instant transaction. Or if you want to transfer through your bank, you can be dealing with wire transfer costs as high as $25 to $45. And let's not even talk about the crazy fees that are charged on remittance payments between people who need that money most. So what we wanted to do is make sure we provide at least a minimal of one free transaction every day. And outside of that as well, you can not only earn more free transactions as you refer more people to the Digifox application, but along with that, in the meantime, if you don't have the ability to refer people, you can still make other payments. It just costs as little as 15 cents and sometimes as small as 10 or 15, 10 or 5 cents in order to send money across the world. And this is the cool thing. I mean, you can send this anywhere. You could send this to any application across the world so long as the user has Digifox, and you're able to send it for a fraction of the cost of traditional payments. And it settles in usually less than a minute, which is really exciting. Next slide, please. Outside of this as well, Digifox, again, is truly global. Again, speaking to the nature of building global finance, it needs to be accessible by everyone. So we're bringing this to as many people across the world as possible. Anyone can receive USDC across the world. However, when it comes to actually off-ramping that, that's what we're working on right now, whether it be through our Digifox debit card, which is coming out this summer, but along with that as well, for a lot of users in this case, to actually connect to their bank account. And actually, one thing we're working towards as well is giving people the ability to connect their bank account that they have right now, right? Or to basically take the income that they have going into their bank account from their current job straight into the Digifox wallet and straight into USDC or their cryptocurrency of choice. So giving you the ultimate ability to bring your wealth into your Digifox wallet and put it in whatever form of currency you choose to have it in. Next slide, please. And last as well, we have to make transactions fast. So as I've already probably hinted to a few times, we understand that payments need to be settled and they need to be settled quickly. When you're talking about sending something as small as $5 or $10 all the way up to $10 million, you want to get that transaction settled and you want to get it settled quickly. So the average transaction time on Digifox takes less than a minute, and in many cases can take as short as 5, 10, 15 seconds. So it's really incredible to see just how fast we've been able to make transactions go. And this is all being processed in a trustless, decentralized way on the Ethereum blockchain. So all of that being said, though, guys, that's it in regards to the payments. And going forward here in the presentation, I want to talk a little bit about where we are at right now. Next slide, please. Right now, we're currently going through our crowdfunding campaign on a website called wefunder.com. It's an equity crowdfunding website. And one thing that we've done from the beginning is we've been a self-funded company. I've basically been doing YouTube for the last few years, and I've taken a lot of the money I've been fortunate to build up from doing YouTube over the last few years and put it directly into building this great product that we've worked on over the last year that I'm so proud of the team on building. So if you're interested in what we've built, I first recommend you go try out the application, go try it on iOS and Android, but also consider supporting us on WeFunder. It's open to people not only in the US, but people across the globe and everyday people as well. So you don't have to just be an accredited investor. For me personally, I not only believe it's very important for a company long-term to be owned by the community, but along with that as well, if it's going to be a product built for its people, built for the people, we need to make sure that the people have some kind of ownership in it as well. And last but not least, above all, in regards to the presentation, next slide, please. We're aiming to build finance for everyone. That's our key goal here. We're still far away from where we want to be. I think we have a lot of new features that we want to build. But if you're interested in trying the application, go try it out today. Try the features that we currently have. And if you have any comments, questions, or points of feedback, you can contact us directly in the application. Most cryptocurrency wallets and exchanges rarely ever have customer support built in. And one of the key things we believe in is making sure we're there with you along the journey. So you can reach out to us on the profile tab of the app, and you can reach out to us on our customer support window. It's completely free and open to anyone, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. But for those of you listening, thank you all so much for giving me the time to present, and I hope you'll give the Digifox app a try today.
Way, fantastic presentation, Nicholas. That looks absolutely amazing. I love the total of the number at the very last slide there, 265,000. One day, baby, one day. We're going to go to the audience for some questions. I know how hard you've worked on this, so fantastic job. How does Digifox position itself in the market compared to other like aggregates of DeFi like Crypto.com? So what are some key differences there?
Yeah, I think one thing that we really nailed down is the user experience. I think compared to a lot of cryptocurrency wallets out there, and then I don't want to despair anyone. I think there's a lot of great smart wallets out there. I think we've nailed it on the user experience. And outside of that as well, one of the key things we're going to start doing is building a lot of in-house technologies. So what's important to realize is that with a lot of these cryptocurrency wallets, people still treat them as crypto wallets. What Digifox is aiming to really be at the end of the day is basically a multi-purpose finance app. So you're able to do things that are outside the cryptocurrency space as well. Managing your savings, being able to budget on those savings, getting free tax documents at the end of the year, all kinds of different features that we're going to be integrating in that make it more and more simple for everyday users to start managing every corner of their finances. But again, I think there's definitely room for all kinds of different players out there. It's more of a matter of whether or not someone feels more comfortable using our application over someone else's, whether it's the design or the features in regards to it. But we've got a lot of other things coming in as well, and we'll have some more features coming out soon. So if someone's interested to learn what we've got next, they can definitely try out the application today and let us know what kind of features they want to see, and we'll be sure to notify them.
Fantastic. I'll be first to give you feedback once I download it and get it. One of the next questions, can you speak about Digifox, the wallet security? So the security behind Digifox and where that might be at.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's important to note, as you brought up there, Chris, Digifox is a cryptocurrency wallet. But one thing that we worked on extensively was to make sure that seed phrases weren't necessary. I understand that seed phrases, though they are a very secure mechanism, at the end of the day are very confusing for the end user, and actually can be a little bit insecure if you don't know how to properly secure your seed phrase or your private key. Because if you lose that, you lose access to your funds. So it's not a very secure system at the end of the day. And what we've worked on building is a system that's much more seamless for the end user, but also is just as secure. And it's basically our smart wallet technology. So this is a technology that's been utilized by a lot of different wallets, emerging wallets in the cryptocurrency space that allow you to basically use familiar recovery mechanisms such as two-factor authentication and your email to be able to generate a wallet and make sure that you yourself are the only individual to be able to access that wallet. So the way that we do this is that when you generate a wallet, you basically go through providing your username you want, and then outside of that, you have to type in your email and phone number. And through each of those systems, we'll send you a 6-digit code that will actually notify you as to like what you have to type into the application to verify that you own that phone number and you own that email. And basically, even Digifox doesn't have access to your funds. This is the really cool thing about our system is that it's non-custodial. There are no private keys. There are no seed phrases, but you are the sole owner of your keys. And your wallet is actually a smart contract on the Ethereum blockchain that gets generated when you're onboarding to the wallet. So it's really fascinating. It's a new emerging form of technology. Outside of this as well, in the sense of having a smart contract wallet, we also have something called meta transactions. It's a very fancy term for basically being able to cover the gas fees. So you don't need ETH or Bitcoin to send USDC or to send any form of crypto payments. You just pay a small fee in the form of USDC rather than having to deposit ETH or a different type of digital asset.
Awesome. I've been working so hard on my project that I've missed the whole DeFi thing. So this is awesome for an introduction to this. I will download it right away and get involved. And there are just tons and tons of questions coming in. So it's obviously the most popular space. And trust me, it's not like I'm ignorant to it. I just haven't been able to dive really deep into decentralized finance. I'm going to learn a lot with BlockDown over the coming couple of hours because we have a lot of exciting things that's going to look at centralized finance and decentralized finance. But the same questions keep on coming in, and I think this means that there's an awesome market for this, for many different players to be in there. So some of the questions coming in, because some of our guests that are joining us for some of these conversations, we have Nexo and we have Celsius. Can you just give, and it's similar to the first question, but give some similarities and key differences between Digifox and those two projects specifically, if you can?
Yeah, exactly. Well, one thing that you won't get with either application is the ability to see multiple different opportunities. So going towards that topic of being an aggregator platform, we love Celsius, and I've been following the Nexo team as well. But right now in the Digifox application, you can lend out to Celsius, you can lend out to Compound. So our key objective originally, actually, when we were starting the company, was to become basically a deposit aggregation platform, to have all the best deposit platforms in the cryptocurrency space into one singular application. So right now, the highest rates that we have on our application is Celsius, paying above slightly above 8% right now on stablecoins like USDC. So it's really awesome. We're providing pretty much the highest rates on the market. And we are looking as well to get Nexo integrated as well as a variety of other platforms. But the nice thing about Digifox is that you always know you're going to be getting the top rate on the in the industry in that case, as we start to add more and more platforms onto the Digifox app. So that's one key thing. In regards to actual trades as well, we're looking to do the exact same thing. With some exchanges, you don't know if you're getting the best price or if you're paying the lowest rate of fees. We're going to work extensively to make sure that users are paying the lowest rates possible and doing so, hopefully, in as decentralized of a way as possible. So those are the two key objectives that we're working on. Where, again, a lot of these applications can be more centralized. We're looking to do things as decentralized as possible and as trustless so that all the funds go back straight to your wallet where you're the manager of your keys and not some exchange where there's a big honeypot, a big security risk, and an incentive for people to try to hack wallets or try to hack custodial solutions. So again, we believe people need to be their own bank, and we're making it simple to become your own bank at the end of the day.
Nick, it's exciting, man. Congratulations on the production of Digifox, and really looking forward to the next steps. If people want to join the community, because obviously the cryptocurrency community, it's really based on people joining these initiatives and discussing and chatting and helping build and giving suggestions. I know that they can download the app and they can contact you, which is huge, right? Because you're kind of, separating the crypto community to the actual users of the product. But where can the community members touch base with other community members and discuss and chat with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, we not only have the app, as you mentioned, Chris, where you guys can, as those of you listening today, you guys can reach out to us at our team for Digifox. But if you're interested in just kind of engaging with the community, there's not only our YouTube channel, Data Dash, which is one of the larger ones in the cryptocurrency space, where we talk about a lot of the emerging aspects of DeFi. We have our comments open so you can come and chat with everyone and share your thoughts. But outside of that as well, there's a lot of great ecosystems in the DeFi community. There's basically a lot of great resources out there that you can turn to for DeFi. But there's a lot of great different communities on Facebook groups and the Twitter space. I would start to say just simply to follow some of your favorite projects. And through that, you'll start to find a lot of different names and a lot of different groups that will start to offer you that ability to connect with people. We're going to start talking about a lot of those on the channel so people can get in touch with a lot of those within the DeFi ecosystem, whether they want to develop or just simply test out the applications. But there's a lot of great groups out there that people can turn to. I'll be honest, off the top of my head, I'm not thinking too well. I'm pretty bad with names, to be fair, in regards to the specific ones people could turn to. But there's a lot of great communities that I interact with and are talking about some of the greatest and latest things in the DeFi space.
Nick, thank you very much for joining us again. Incredible project, and really looking forward to the future of it. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for joining us.
Chris, thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure getting to see you again. Thank you.